Now available in paperback and e-readers, Isis, Amari's Revenge. The goddess next door is confronted by a Nubian queen out for revenge at the Metropolitan Museum of Art in this inaugural Isis series adventure. Get your copy of Isis, Amari's Revenge in paperback and e-readers at Amazon.com and online booksellers everywhere. I've been hearing a lot of good things regarding the Frazetta action figure line. Now, the Frazetta collection is based on the artwork of legendary 20th century artist Frank Frazetta, who is considered the godfather of fantasy art, and these action figures are based on and inspired by the paintings that Frank Frazetta made over the course of his career. Now, the line started last year with the Dark Wolf character. However, I wasn't able to get that character because I just didn't get to the pre-order at the time, and by the time I became aware of it, the figure was sold out. However, I did hear about the Teegra figure from the Fire and Ice line, and when I heard about that figure, I had to put in a pre-order for that figure so that I could see for myself how great these figures were. And while this figure was quite pricey, I have to say it's definitely worth every penny I spent on it, and basically blows away other premium figures that I've purchased, like the figure of La Muerta I put a review in from Loose Collector, and everything here on Teegra is far better than everything that I had with that Loose Collector figure. This Teegra figure, I would have to say, is one of the best action figures of 2024, and a figure that I really am glad to have as part of my collection. Now, the packaging of this figure is really nice, and you could display this box all by itself, which really presents a beautiful picture of Frank Frazetta's art and showcases all the heroes and heroines of the Fire and Ice movie. Now, Fire and Ice was an animated movie that came out in the 1980s and was made by Ralph Bakshi using rotoscope animation to really capture all of the movements. And rotoscope animation is usually where they take real-life human actors and have them moving and making the base for the animation. And it's a unique style of animation that I wish more animators would have used in their hand-drawn processes, because it made for more fluid and more dynamic movement and really made for a unique filming experience. Now, Ralph Bakshi used that a lot in his animation, and that's what made Fire and Ice a very unique movie as related to its style of animation. And its fantasy story is one that is considered a classic by hand-drawn animation fans, and it's a movie that I would definitely recommend you go out here and take a look at. And this packaging with Frank Frazetta's painting really, again, it's like you're looking at a brilliant masterpiece of this whole fantasy world, and I'm glad that people are able to get to see Frank Frazetta's art on this packaging so they can see how brilliant an artist he was in the 20th century and see the reason why he's considered to be the godfather of fantasy, and because this picture really is the kind of fantasy that got everybody excited back in the day. Now, this box, again, is a beautiful box, and you could basically display this box on your shelf like this and keep your figure in pristine mint condition, and you wouldn't have a problem with that because the package in itself is art in and of itself, and the way it's presented basically is the same way you have with many premium figures from higher end lines like Hot Toys and many other lines out here, like the Japanese imports. And we get a nice one that opens like a book, where we get to look at the figure inside of the packaging, and we also get a look at Teegra in display, and we get a nice a detail of all the feet of the items inside of the box on the back. So the box is really nice, and again showcases the figure and everything you're gonna get in this whole case. So now that I've shown up everything that you're gonna get, I'll show you what's inside of the box. Now that I've got the figure out the box, I can show you what it looks like in the plastic tray that it has. Now this plastic tray is one that I really like because it basically snaps together, and when it snaps together it creates a nice airtight seal that basically keeps all the accessories intact and also keeps everything together. Now as I open this up, one of the things I experienced when I opened the box was that new plastic smell. And that new plastic smell was one of those things that made me happy because it makes sure that the figures are going to stay in good condition. And you get a lot of great things in this package that's related to everything. You get 2 sets of hands, you get an extra hairpiece, and you get 2 extra heads. And you get Teegra's companion, Shaitan, who also comes with an extra head. Not to mention a twig and a knife and a spear. So you get a lot of great accessories for the price, and everything comes together very nicely once you get the figure out of the box. Now, to the disappointment of many fantasy fans, Princess Teegra isn't dressed in the outfit that she's featured for most of the movie and in most of the paintings when she comes out of the box. No, when she comes out of the box, she's dressed in a shawl and a loin skirt, and if you want to make her look like she did when she was in the movie, then you're going to have to undress her, and you have to do that by basically taking off her head and putting it to the side, and then pulling off the shawl and taking off the loincloth. And once you take those items off and put the head back on, then you can have Princess Teegra looking just like she did in the Fire and Ice movie. Now, the shawl and the loincloth are basically made of a soft PVC style plastic and are very malleable and pliable and can come off easily. And you can these basically you can just put them to the side if you want to go out here and display her like she was in the movie. And as Princess Teegra looks like she does in the movie, again, this is a very beautiful sculpt, and this is where we see where Frazetta's articulation and sculpt work basically fused together to basically give us a superposable piece of art. And that's what the Teegra figure is, basically a superposable piece of art that captures the spirit of Frank Frazetta's art and really, again, comes to life. And when I looked at this figure, it just basically reminded me of the best of both worlds of companies like NECA and DC Direct in terms of painting and sculpt work, with the articulation that is close to Marvel Legends and a good fusion that basically allows the sculpt to stand out more than usual other action figure companies. Now, with companies like Hasbro, where they make Marvel Legends and G.I. Joe Classified, the main focus is on making the figures as posable as possible. But what Frazetta is trying to do is basically make sure that while you get some posability, you still can see the lines of that sculpt and see what makes those lines of the sculpt dynamic. And that's one of the reasons why I really like this Teegra figure. It's a beautiful fusion of articulation and sculpt. And the sculpt really, it's bold and dynamic and really doesn't get broken up too much. And you can get to see all the lines of the sculpt, and it basically feels like a piece of art in your hands. That's one of the reasons why I really like this figure, is you've got, again, it looks like, a piece of, like one of Frank Frazetta's paintings come straight to life and feels like a figure that feels more like a sculpture, and it really is a really nice figure. And I really love everything as related to the sculpt work and the line work of this figure, from the front side to the back side. And again, the articulation blends in so well that you basically can't tell where there's joints or posability at all as related to this figure. And I will go over the articulation in the next segment. Now, Teegra has a great range of motion, and while she's not as posable as a Marvel Legend, with her 28 points of articulation, she's posable enough to be able to move in a very dynamic fashion with the range of articulation she's been given with her setup. Now, Teegra has, starting with her head, a ball-jointed neck which goes down but doesn't really go up too much. And when it comes to the shoulders, they don't really have that ball shoulder, but they do go up about that much. And they also have a motion to go left and right to a point, which is somewhat to make up for the lack of a bicep swivel, because it wouldn't be very aesthetically pleasing. Now, instead of a bicep swivel, Teegra has these these joints at the elbow, which have the bicep range, and where they go round and round like this, and they go up and down. But you have to be very careful with them, because these joints, they are kind of, when you get them out of the box, they are kind of stiff, and you just have to be careful with them. I would suggest that you just move them gently, but not move them too rough, because you can easily, again, pull something, and this is a very expensive figure, and you just don't want to break it. Now, the torso has some great range front and back. I mean, this is some great front and back range on the torso. And the figure, while it doesn't have any sort of waist articulation, has a nice round up and down and round side to side. Really good movement there as related to range. And when it comes to the hips, again, the hip articulation is so that it can just move like with the sculpt like this. So it has a really great range. And again, she can do the splits and some kung fu action. So she can do those kind of things. And she also has some wrist articulation that's really nice. It's just on one set of hands she got the up and down, but when on the fist and grasping hands it goes the other way. It goes one set goes one way, the other goes the other way. And again, the hips can move out and in like this, so you got good range there. And you've got instead of a thigh joint, you've got the lower part of the leg swivels, and the knee also moves like this. So you got range like there, and you've got the ankle pivots, and everything is really nice. And it blends very nicely into a sculpt that leads for some nice fluid articulation that basically flows very nicely. And when you get her in the poses, she moves very well. So Teegra's articulation setup works very nicely in maintaining the sculpt and the whole lines of the paintwork, which is just really done well here. So everything here on the Teegra figure, again, the articulation moves very nicely and allows you to keep that Frazetta style sculpt without compromising the overall sculpt to be able to get more posability. And I have to say, this articulation setup works very nicely for her and works nicely for this line of figures. And I'm really happy to see it, because when it comes to a figure like this, you really want to keep keep it looking like the art, and that's what this sculpt and this articulation setup allows it to do. Now, in addition to the clothes that Princess Teegra has, she comes with a lot of great accessories, and those include 2 extra head sculpts, one of her smiling and one of her with a more determined look. And she comes with 2 pairs of hands, and she also comes with her pet and companion, Shaitan. Now, Shaitan is looking real nice as a Black Panther, and this Black Panther figure sadly doesn't have a lot of articulation. I mean, he has a stoic face for that's attached to his body, and he has a more snarling head that comes with him. But this head's on so tight, I'm not going to take it off because it's on tight, and I don't want to break it. This is, again, a really expensive figure, and I don't want to mess it up. So as she comes with her companion, but he's just, again, a solid piece of plastic, but he looks real nice and just really stands out. The paintwork on him and the sculpt work is really nice. Now, I talked about, again, her accessories before, and Princess Teegra comes with a nice spear. The plastic is a little soft on this one, so you got to be careful. This is the kind of thing that can easily snap easily, so I would be careful with this spear. But she comes with a spear and a wooden branch that she uses in the movie. She has this branch that she uses in the movie, and they pack that in. I'm really happy with that. And they also give her a dagger, which is really nice. So she comes with a lot of great accessories, in addition to these 2 extra head sculpts. Again, she's got this more determined face right here, I think. And no, this is the smiling face. This is the smiling face. This is the more determined face. And she comes with an extra hair sculpt. And the alternate heads, basically, they can snap on very easily. And I'll show that in a minute. Now, scale-wise, Teegra fits in very nicely with other 6-inch scale figures. With Marvel Legends, she scales right in line with Marvel Legends figures. Moreover, she also scales well with G.I. Joe Classified and fits right in with those lines if you want to play mix and match with them. And in addition to Marvel Legends and G.I. Joe Classified, Teegra scales very well with older figures like DC Universe Classics and DC Direct, so you have no problem fitting Teegra in if you want to have her in the world of the DC Universe. She scales very nicely, again, with both the Mattel and DC Direct line of figures, and she also scales very well with other later figures from the DC collectibles line, such as Catwoman. She's a little tall. The Catwoman is a little tall, but she scales very well with them. And she also scales well with other lines like Valaverse with Gemini. I mean, she scales pretty nice with her as well. And she also scales very well with loose collector figures like this Betty I picked up on eBay. So Frazetta is clearly a nice 1/12 scale, a 1/12 scale that will fit very nicely with your other figures and flow very nicely in with other figure lines. And again, another reason why I'm really happy I made this purchase, because this figure, again, just if you look at it again, she just fits very well in with all these different other action figure lines. And even though the sculpt is different, you could easily fit her in with other lines and have no problem displaying her with other lines of figures if you have them in your collection. Overall, Teegra is a great figure, and I definitely recommend you go out here and get her. Now, I know this figure comes at a very high premium price, but that premium price is definitely there when you consider all of the accessories we are getting, including a change of clothes. I mean, you're getting a lot more than you would get even with other premium lines like SH Figure Arts or lines like Figma, which charge a premium price. And again, with this premium price, what I'm seeing here with Teegra is we get premium quality plastic that's on the level of what I've seen from top premium companies. I mean, the plastic here feels very solid as related to this figure, and it's not that waxy plastic that they use at Loose Collector. This is top quality plastic, so this figure looks like it's going to be made to last a long time. And the articulation, again, setup is very nice as related to it. I mean, it's not meant to break up the sculpt too much, but it does move in a very fluid fashion. So you get, again, a lot of great sculpt and paint work here. Not to mention, you get this beautiful paint work with all of this great shading that you have to really look at it in the sunlight to see all the nice tones of the flesh tones and a little highlight of a golden wash on the body. So a lot, and the yellows and everything here is just very nice. Not to mention, you're getting a lot of great accessories such as alternate heads and alternate hands and film specific accessories like that branch. And you get her companion Shaitan, so you're basically getting everything related to this character in one box. And while that box may cost anywhere from $80 to $90 depending on where you go, you get $90 worth of stuff here. I mean, many other companies like Mezco charge a similar price for this type of premium figure. And this premium figure, again, is going to be one that's going to stand out in your collection if you go out here and pick it up. And you definitely will enjoy having this figure in your collection and having it be a part of your collection, whether you're a fan of fantasy like Fire and Ice or you're a fan of Ralph Bakshi's animation. You'll definitely enjoy this figure. Or if you're a more casual collector like myself who delves into different lines because he wants to support independent toy companies to make sure that they can stay in business, everybody who will pick up this figure will enjoy this figure, and it's one I definitely recommend you go out here and pick up at places like Big Bad Toy Store or any of the other local online stores that go out here and sell premium action figures. Now, if you want to pick up some of my books on the SJS Direct imprint that feature action-packed fantasy fiction in the SJS Direct universe, you can pick up the books such as the ISIS series, the Steam series, the John Haynes series, and the books in the Goth Spinsterella trilogy, or my vampire novel Eternal Night, or my black sorority novel The Thetas. You can find all of those books on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format, and you can also find them at other online booksellers like Draft the Digital, Google Play, Barnes & Noble, and big box retailers like Walmart and Target. And if you want to check out my first full fantasy comic, John Haynes at Death's Door, you can get that comic over at lulu.com in paperback, and you can pick up your own digital copy on Kindle right now. And I'm trying to get a paperback version over to Amazon, but I'm having issues with the formatting. But I hope to have that over soon, along with the upcoming books of the SJS Direct 2025 catalog. And if you want to see me make more videos doing action figure reviews, or to help me to be able to purchase action figures, or if you're an action figure company and you want to send me a figure to review, you can do that. You can do that by my email, sjsdirectamerica@gmail.com. But if you want to help me to be able to do more action figure reviews, you can drop a donation to the Patreon, the PayPal, or the Cash App, so I can continue supporting great independent toy manufacturers like Frazetta Collection, and be able to continue supporting their lines and continuing to support many great creators like the estate of Frank Frazetta. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, subscribe. Now available in paperback and Kindle Unlimited, E-Steam: The Sands of Time. It's action and adventure in ancient Egypt in this terrific teen time travel romance. Get your copy of E-Steam: The Sands of Time at your favorite online bookseller today. Support Black-owned and Black-operated digital broadcast media. www.niceradionetwork.com. Nice Radio Network, broadcasting 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.